Just remember, kindness.
If we get canceled, we get canceled. Who cares?
God, you can't get canceled when you haven't even started.
What is good, you guys?
Hey, everybody.
This is episode 11 of the Don't Do Stupid Shit podcast. Or, season 2, episode 1.
We're on to season 2.
Season 2.
Feels
Actually,
fancy.
season 2, episode 1.
No, I
That's
like
what this
11.
is. No.
Okay.
We're on season 2.
11.
I'm overruling that one. Today,
Fine.
well, I guess I should start with sharing a little bit. I went and filmed a YouTube video last week asking college students controversial questions.
Yeah.
And when we were thinking about a topic for this episode, I said we should talk about some of those same questions that I asked college kids. And now, 5 seconds before I start this episode, she wants to try to say that, I don't know if we should do that, this and that.
Okay, let's rewind. So we had a guest lined up for today, and our guest needed to wait an additional week to be able to do this podcast with us, which was totally fair.
You'll understand why too.
Yeah, but that left us kind of last minute trying to decide what we were going to do today, because I'm actually leaving out of town in 2 hours.
You act like this isn't every week trying to figure out last minute what we're going to do.
I feel like we talk about it a little bit more than this. We talk about it a little ahead of time. This one was really last minute. Yeah. But I'm actually leaving out of town, and I'm going to be gone until Friday. So it was like do or die. Record now, or we have to do it via Zoom. And so...
Well, not Zoom. We transitioned. Actually, this is a point. We transitioned to Buzzsprout as our host platform, which is... Shout out Buzzsprout, if you guys want to, partner with us, whatever,
Come along.
No, but shout out Buzzsprout. We've transitioned over to Buzzsprout, and it's a cool platform, so excited for that. And then we also got all set up on Riverside FM, which is a recording platform for remote episodes. So we're not going to be doing Zoom. Riverside, the quality should be a lot better when we're doing remote episodes with guests, or if Mom's somewhere else or I'm somewhere else. So just a little side note.
Yeah, so we've been putting in work this week.
Yeah.
We've been coming up with some new things. We thought we had this episode lined up, but that's okay. Things change. Mm-hmm. So Jesh went and recorded some controversial questions yesterday and did some interviews. And so then we thought we would do that today. And then now I'm chickening out.
I don't even think... Okay, yes, some of them are controversial for sure. But, I don't know. One of the girls in the video... You can go watch that video on Tuesday on my YouTube channel. Or, well, I guess this is coming out Thursday, so it dropped 2 days ago.
Yeah, we're still catching up.
I'm like, it's fucking with my head, but... Yep. You can go watch that video if you want. One of the girls towards the end made a good point that she doesn't believe there's... What did she say?
She said that the only thing that makes something controversial is if you're not willing to hear somebody else's opinion.
Yeah,
or someone else's thoughts on something, which I kind of love. I think that's kind of true.
Super accurate.
Everybody is... Really, ultimately, as humans, we're entitled to come to our own conclusions on things. Whether that lines up with somebody else's or not isn't really the basis for what is truth or what is right or what is whatever. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of things that most of us do center on and agree on, and we kind of rally around as humans, which I think is a good way of being able to decide if something is really... stands a test, I guess. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that don't. And so really what makes it controversial is if people are willing to fight over their differing of opinions on something versus being willing to hear somebody else's opinion, which may not change your stance or your belief on it. But it doesn't necessarily have to be considered controversial.
Yeah.
in that
Yeah, I mean,
situation.
me and Mom are obviously, if you guys haven't been able to tell from the previous episodes, we're both very open-minded people. Like,
Yeah, I would say so.
I wouldn't say, I mean, sure, there's certain, you know, certain things that, maybe we're very firm on our beliefs, but I think that, like, for the most part, we're always pretty open to having a conversation about anything, really.
And
The
I don't even know
questions,
that I can say, like, I wouldn't say necessarily firm as much as maybe for the time being, we feel like we kind of know the answer that resonates with us. But I feel like I'm always at least questioning if that's changing.
well, I think there's a couple things you're probably pretty firm on, which is understandable, at least from the perspective of, like, you being a woman and,
Oh,
like,
that's
having
true.
conversations
That's true.
with, like, a male or a
Yeah, no,
man
you're
about
right.
it that
You're
are
right.
like,
You're right.
you have no clue, like, what it's like to be a woman, which is completely understandable, right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
I wouldn't,
But even in that, I think sometimes I'm willing to question those and see if that still stands up.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For
like, do
sure.
I still really
You'll
believe?
still have a conversation right up until the point where you feel like it's become, like, belittling or maybe, like, like,
That's true.
I think, like,
I think that's respectful, though, of anybody and any gender is, and any person is, if the way that you're questioning what somebody believes is in a way that is trying to take away from their experience, that's not okay.
yeah, I would agree. I would
Yeah,
agree.
you have to be
Yeah.
able to leave room for somebody's personal experience to inform the way that they believe, because that is the experience that they're living.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like, it would be, I'm a white male. I'm trying to go
Yeah.
argue with an African American or Asian or Hispanic person about their experiences, being
Yeah,
Hispanic, African American, Asian, or me trying to go argue with you as a woman about what it's
right,
like to be a woman, or
right.
same thing. But
Yeah, agreed.
okay, anyways, though, so the questions, I'll list off the questions if I can remember correctly. What I asked in the video were, I think the questions were: is God real? Is there life after death? How many genders are there? Is abortion a human right? Um, is what was it? Is the death penalty, or do you believe in the
Do you
death
believe in the
penalty?
death penalty?
And then there's one more, I think. Oh, should trans athletes be able to participate in women's sports?
Yeah, and that comes right out of the news cycle right now. That's kind of been a topic that
Yeah.
has been out there. I know there was a whole thing, wasn't there, recently with that?
Yeah, there's been a bunch of stuff. There's
I
like,
saw that. I follow someone on Instagram, and that came up on their, about a week and a half ago, that came up on their thing where they had taken a position about it, and then they got a lot of flack and feedback, and they really stuck to their guns on it, which I mean, good for them. Like,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
for any of you listening or watching, there's a platform called Twitch, which is like a big streaming platform where creators go on and live stream and talk to their viewers, or whether it's their playing video games or just creating or whatever it may be. But anyways, there's one of the biggest creators on that platform. Well, not anymore, because I guess he got permanently deleted off the platform. His
oh, I
name's
don't,
Aiden Ross.
okay, I don't know anything about this.
Anybody over the age of probably 30 wouldn't know who this is. So,
Okay,
so
well,
if you're over 30, which is, probably a good few of you, like, you can do your research. But
I don't know.
he basically went on Twitter and was like very firm and adamant that there's only two genders, and
Oh,
like
okay.
stated his opinion, and he got like a ton of backlash for it, and like taken off the platform as one of the biggest creators and this and that. And
And
again,
what was the basis for that? Was that just based on people's complaints, or what was the counter? What was the counter argument there?
I
that
think they
would-
just considered it hate speech,
Interesting.
which is, again, like, that's a huge debate and argument right now. Is like, I mean, there's a lot of YouTubers or streamers or creators, whatever, content creators that are getting like kind of, quote unquote canceled, or
That-
their accounts deleted because
Yeah, that's been going on for a long time. I guess my question in that, I didn't see any of that, but my question is, why did he feel he needed to address that topic?
I don't know.
And what would be the point of having to stake a claim?
I don't know. He just felt like he wanted to share his opinion.
Yeah, see, but sometimes I think that's part of the conversation right there in and of itself, is that just because you have a thought or an opinion on something doesn't necessarily mean that you need to come out and stake a claim or
I would
put your flag in the ground.
Yeah, I would
As
agree.
if as if it matters.
It's not necessary at all. I would agree with that. Like there's two coins to this whole situation. Like
two sides to the coin.
Whatever. No, there's two coins. Fuck that. There's two coins.
There's two coins.
She's trying to make me look stupid.
No.
There's two coins in this situation. Well, technically, it's not two sides because I'm not about to address the argument. I'm about to address the fact that it's unnecessary for him to be stating his opinion like that. But then I also feel like it's unnecessary to be removing him from the platforms and stuff just for stating his opinion.
Yeah, but I think that's the cautionary tale when you're in a position where you carry any kind of influence and you have any kind of sway, I suppose, and people that follow you, is that unfortunately, because it's not people that you're close to. So like if I have sway in your life, it's because we've built a relationship.
Right.
But if I have sway in somebody's life that I've never met, they don't know the motivations behind maybe where I'm at, and they might take my position or my opinion and they might use it to harm others. And so I think the big come down in social media these days is about, if you're going to be out there and you're going to have all these people that are following you who don't really know you, you best be very careful what you put out into the universe and what you say and what kind of claims you make, because somebody can take that very statement that you're making or that opinion or that camp that you've put your flag up in, and they can turn it into a reason to harm others. And that's, I think, what they're trying to prevent, is this secondary effect, which is that then people use as an excuse to take it one step further. Yeah.
No, I hear that for sure. I would say I would like to think that that's the reason for sure.
I think it does.
I think that there's a lot of other reasons as to why they may want to.
Well, there's a lot of public pressure, and I think a lot of companies feel like they have to cave to public pressure.
Well, there's a lot of sponsors, a lot of money involved in the decision making.
That's what I'm saying, is there's a lot of companies that feel like they've got to cave to the majority public opinion and the public pressure, because again, it does affect their bottom line and it does affect their future, and everybody understands that. That is so it can be used for good and it can be used for bad, right? But that is one of the positives of knowing what, as people, a majority can conjure up and create and change by having a majority opinion.
Like, I look at that with like Colin Kaepernick, like in the whole situation with like Nike and everything, like and him, taking a kneel and all this stuff.
Everybody ditched him and then they've all brought him back. Yeah. Like, okay, come on.
There's a lot of
finicky.
Yeah, but so I'm gonna get right into what you didn't want to get into.
No, okay, I'm gonna say this though really quick. In that frame, and I think about this from a parenting standpoint, but I can see where from an influencer or somebody that is out there in this public domain, which we never used to have, right? So the people that we used to see that were influencers had PR reps and very crafted and carefully calculated, and they had contracts and agreements.
They were actors or musicians that had a whole team around them.
Right, and they had contracts that like guided their way, and people that were saying like, no, you're not going to say this in public, and yada. Now it's kind of
over the last 12 years it's been like, and even more recently, like with TikTok and everything, like
it's kind of a free for all.
Kids that are just
lots of people can be out there and gain influence. But what I will say about that is that I think this rule of thumb, and I used to think about this from a parenting standpoint, is that what I excuse in moderation, you will excuse in excess. And so that's this idea that if I say in moderation, this is okay, people that I influence will generally then excuse that in excess. So it's taken to a next level, right? And that's where it's so important that people that do have influence are very, very cautious about what they say and put out there, because it may be, you might be saying it or you might be stating it and you might have a whole lot behind it that seems moderate and healthy, but unless the people that are directly involved that are you're influencing know you well enough to know that, they're going to excuse that behavior in excess, and that's where it becomes extreme. And we've seen that from the political side of the world to entertainment to you. That's even the rap, right? When we talked before about music in the music episode, that's even the influence of lyrics and the influence of a certain type of persona. So like if a rap artist is out there talking about gangs and drugs and all these kind of things, they may not even be participating in that, but the influence that they have...
I know plenty that aren't.
Exactly, but the influence that they have, where they're putting that out as this is like an okay and like acceptable or positive thing, the people that they're influencing are going to take that to an excessive space.
Yeah.
And that's that, I think that's that mark of really being cautious and careful.
Mom, do you believe in the death penalty?
Okay, here we go.
We're diving into the questions now.
So I listened to your video and I saw somebody, I won't spoil. Well, I guess.
Well, it's already out now, so go. You can spoil it.
So somebody did say in there that it's used as a leverage,
like a bargaining tool.
Yeah, as a bargaining tool, and I never had thought about it that way. So I guess I'll say it this way. No, I have not believed that the death penalty is the right way of handling things. I don't believe that if somebody acts in a space of God and takes a life, that gives us the right to then act in the space of God and take another life. Yeah. Like, I can't make that make sense to myself. But from the standpoint of a consequence that would allow leverage for prosecutors and things like that to get more information to help families find closure, I could totally understand that side of it as a tool. But then again, you can't leverage it as a false threat, because then it doesn't actually work. So you have to be willing to follow through. And do I think that the follow through is worth it? I don't know. I've never been in a position, though, to have to answer that question, because I've never been on the side of somebody killing a loved one of mine and needing and wanting to know where that person's body was, or I can't sit in those shoes because I'm not there. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing, right? I can have the opinion that I have based on my very limited exposure and experience. Yeah. But I haven't walked in those shoes to know what it would feel like.
I'm in the same spot. Like I'm very split on it, because where I do think like there can be, a useful aspect to, again, a bargaining tool, and like being able to, like you said, find, maybe where the bodies are, provide some closure for the families of the victim, like so on. Like I also think where another one of the kids in the video said, like, you can't play God. Yeah, like, exactly. And who are you to, take somebody's life that just took somebody else's life? Like where is that, So I think again, that's one of those questions where I'm very like split on, because it's like fuck, like that's hard. Like I don't think, like, morally speaking, like it's right to, take somebody's life for, whatever crime or whatever they've done necessarily, but at the same time, like I do think like the families deserve closure, and like in closure a lot of the times that means wanting to know where the body is or how it happened, or exactly, so on. So I don't know, that's a tricky one, but
I can say for me personally, I never get called for jury duty. I think it's because I was born in Canada.
I've never been called for jury duty. I think that's because
your dad has.
I've never. Oh,
your dad didn't even. Your dad gets called for jury duty. I've never been called for jury duty.
Why have I never been called for jury duty?
Probably because you're not quite. Well, I don't know.
There's plenty of kids that are 22, 23, 21 getting called for jury duty. Yeah, but
you've gotten in some trouble, so maybe they weed you out.
Yeah, I was right that. Well, that's what I was thinking too.
But your dad.
But again, he's getting called for jury duty, and
only in probably the last decade. So past his trouble. I've never been called, and I think that's because I was born in Canada. I think there's got to be something about that. But what
Think
I
you're a
will
spy.
say, maybe, what I will say about that is if I ever did get called for jury duty on a case where the death penalty was possibly going to be on the
You'd
table,
reclude yourself.
I would definitely try to get myself out of that. I don't ever want to be responsible for
The
that
deciding
decision.
factor for whether
No.
somebody's executed or not.
No, I don't. I don't. And luckily, I don't think here in Washington that is even on the table, right? I don't think we have the death penalty in Washington.
I don't think we do.
Yeah. But anyway, I wouldn't want to be in that position. That I can say for sure.
Okay, what about? So I'm not gonna get into the two genders because
Or how many genders.
or how many genders there. I'm just not gonna touch that one.
Yeah.
That's.
I think
you know,
I think one that gets very convoluted very quickly because there's a lot involved in that. And again, from our experience, we have no personal experience with any of that. So
Yeah.
I think it's foolish to try to form an opinion around something that you have never touched or experienced. That's my take.
What I will bring up though is we were talking about it yesterday, the trans athletes being able to participate in like women's sports or stuff like that. And again, I'll make this very clear before we even touch this subject. Like, I'm all for do whatever you feel you need to do. Like, I don't have, I'm not judging anybody here. I'm not here to say, don't do what you feel is right for you.
We're very open
Yeah.
to the idea that people need to live this life as true to who they believe they are as possible.
Yeah.
We're all in that journey. I'm in that journey. And I can't, again, I don't know what it's like to be in somebody else's experience. What I can empathize with is what it feels like to feel like you can't be who you want to be and who you believe you are and who you feel inside. I mean, I grew up in an environment where that, on a very small scale compared to some people's experience, was very stripped from me and very shut down, and I was not accepted for who I was, and I was really put into a position to try to have to be accepted by being somebody that was counter to really who I am. And I've been in a process over the last handful of years of allowing myself to shed a lot of that and get back to accepting my personality and who I am as a person and loving that. So I can't even imagine what it would be like to have to experience that in a society where there's so much judgment and so much harshness
For sure.
around it when it comes to gender identity, sexuality. Like, that just is, I mean, I can't get there.
Yeah. I did want to bring this one up just because it's like a hot topic right now.
Yeah,
and
it is. It's been out there.
I think there's a lot of different perspectives, and like I've looked into it a little bit, and like, to be honest, like I was sharing with you, like I think like anybody that's trained and spent their life or is passionate about what they're doing, like, should 100% be able to, like, participate and do
At the highest
whatever
levels.
at the highest levels.
Yeah.
Like, there's
When
no
you give
reason.
your life to somebody, to something, to learning,
Yeah.
to growing, to training, to being the best. Like, you should be able to participate.
There's no part of me that would be like, oh, don't let them participate. Fuck that. Like, that's bullshit. Like, they've spent their entire life training and getting to that level. Like, I would be heartbroken if I was in that position. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that, like, when it comes to, like, like, where are they supposed to participate? Like, you were talking yesterday, like, the Olympics is, like, now testing for, like, testosterone levels? What were you saying?
Well, I don't, again, this is a very uninformed, like, I read some things Olympics or two ago, so it's been around for a while. But when they have a question of, so where this stems from is that there are people that are born with unidentifiable genitalia. So at the time of birth, they have had to decide, do we put this person in as a male or a female gender role. That's been traditionally how we've done things in the world and as society. And so usually at that point, if they're not able to tell, the family kind of chooses. Like the doctors pretty much say, well, what do you want to raise them as a boy or a girl? That's how limited it's been. And so what has happened is when there has been an athlete that has come up through the ranks that has been good enough to participate at that Olympic level, the Olympics has some testing that they do, and there's some limits that you have to test within the range to be able to compete in the women's category of that sport or the men's category of that sport. And there was an athlete that had been raised as a female, and when they tested, she was just outside that range, and sat more in the male side of their testing range, and so they weren't going to let her participate in the Olympics. Now, I don't think she did get to participate. I don't know that I agree with that, but I also understand why they're trying to find some sort of range in there.
Well, because there is an unfair advantage if, somebody has far more testosterone and
it affects your muscle, which obviously can affect your performance, your speed. Like, there is definitely some things there that we know makes a difference. But it's a tough one because I think what I saw, and we brought this up, the person I follow on Instagram that is well known and has a platform and was speaking about this, and his platform and where he comes from is his life has been fighting against mental health that has brought people to the point of wanting to commit suicide. And his whole purpose and intention has been a nonprofit to help people realize that there's life to live and to not be feel like the only out they have is suicide. And so what he brought forward was, he was like, look, people want to belong, and we need to just provide a space for humans to belong. And so sport can't be more important than a human's sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Right? Sport is something that we engage in, that we use for entertainment. It's amazing. We get inspiration from these athletes that are incredible. But at the basis of this human experience is the ability for people to know that they belong and that they're loved and that they're cared for. And so his take on it is like, if they should be allowed to compete at any level, in any stage. And it's because the belonging is more important.
Yeah.
And I get that. I absolutely get that. And I think from a human, loving, inclusive, caring standpoint, that's the right answer.
Yeah.
And then, but then, you have the flip side of that, which is and really you only see this, right? So I think this is the argument that people are having right now, is really going from male to female in a female sport, because the other 100%. Way around, it's
not providing really an advantage.
No, it doesn't.
From a physical
Correct.
standpoint.
So it's really that direction that seems
well,
to
it's
be
like the example I gave you the other day of the trans woman that ended up just annihilating everybody in the wrestling.
Yeah.
And like there was no competition for
Yeah, and that's hard. I can imagine what it would be like to be an athlete and have trained your whole life and feel like maybe this person has an advantage that you don't have. But at the same time, I'm not in either of those spaces.
Yeah.
So I really don't get to have a say in that sense, outside of the general consensus that people need to belong, and we need to put people first before these other
me personally, I don't give a fuck. I'm not going for a gold medal, so
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have skin in the game, so to speak, outside of the belief that we all need to belong, and we all need to be loved, and we all need to be cared for.
Yeah.
And that, in my mind, should always lead the conversation.
I agree. Yeah.
But it's a tough one.
There's a lot of different
topics.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of controversy and all sorts of nonsense. Again, I'm pretty just laid back.
Well, like
I don't
I
really
think
give
she
a
said, there's
fuck.
only controversy if you're willing to stake your claim and not be willing to hear somebody else's view.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you're open to hearing and being open to these varying things, it may mean that in the end you don't have an answer. But sometimes not having an answer is better.
Better than a bullshit answer.
And or staking your claim in a space that's gonna, potentially hurt people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're not going to dive into the rest of the questions. We're going to keep this
That's
one.
it.
Yeah, I think so, because
Let's wrap up one
that's
more.
like 35 minutes.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Hold on.
All right. You're checking time?
It's 30 minutes. But,
Okay. Let's maybe wrap it up with one more.
Okay. Which one?
Okay.
Hold on, because we brought up... I'm not touching the two genders one.
No, we
Fuck
already
that.
decided that. What was another one?
What did we do? We did 3 of them, right?
Well, we talked about reincarnation. There was that one. There
No,
was
that
Do
wasn't
you
a-
believe in God?
Do you believe in God? Is there a life after death? We touched the trans one. The
genders, death penalty.
death penalty, we already did that one.
feel
What
like
was
there
the
was a
last?
6th.
There's a 6th one. What was the 6th one?
I don't know.
Hold on, let me think.
Pausing for thoughts.
I don't remember.
Neither do I. We just
Why
said
am
it
I
30
blanking?
minutes
Yeah,
ago.
I know. Why am I blanking on it?
I have no idea.
My mind's in a fucking fog right now for some
seriously.
reason. Is there?
Okay, well let's maybe do this one.
Okay.
Rap music or rock music? Stake your claim.
Rap music.
Rock music.
Whoa, rap comes from rock.
Which is why rock music is where you should always start.
No, rap.
No,
for
rock.
Me,
Rock.
Rock. Is that what you're staking your claim?
Rock.
No. Definitely rap music, but okay, we'll talk about the afterlife one. We were talking about I said like I have no fucking clue. I don't know if there's an afterlife. I'd like to think there is, but I have no clue what it looks like or
Well, I think somebody that answered that question said that they'd like to believe there is because it gives you hope that maybe there's something that this whole thing is leading to, which I think is a really interesting point because I think that's a lot of why people believe in
I remember the
faith
last
or
question.
religion. Okay, what was it?
Is abortion a human right?
Oh, we can end on this
Yes,
one.
it is.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
There we go.
I got my
That's not
opinion on
even.
that.
Yeah, we do have our opinion on that, and this is what I'm going to say about that. I was 17 and I got pregnant, and I can tell you right here and right now that decision to keep my child was mine and my alone. And I grew up in a place that was equivalently pro-life, which I don't believe that they were pro-life because they were abusing people recklessly, completely. But
Pretty
I was one
ironic.
of those. I grew up, picketing abortion clinics. That was something that I was doing at a very young age, which again is a whole other conversation that you would bring kids to doing that.
What are
But
the odds?
yeah, but what I believe is that until you are in somebody's experience, and we kind of touched on this at the beginning, you don't get to decide for them what
Your
they
body,
get
your
to do.
choice.
Well, and it's also, if you believe in a maker, if you believe you were created, if you don't believe you were created, whatever,
You don't get the final say.
that's
So shut the
between
fuck
you. Your existence is between you and whatever you believe is past that space.
Yeah.
If that's a God, if that's not a God, that's a personal thing.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe that you can't create life on your own, so I believe that there should be consideration to both people involved.
Yeah, but again, that's where
ultimately-
like a lot of the times like it's like if somebody goes through some really fucked up shit and
Yeah,
the other person doesn't get a fucking right to decide.
yeah, that's right. I agree.
Like
I can't tell you what to do within the space of your body and your life, and you in turn should not be telling me what to do within mine.
exactly. Oh, I also asked, this wasn't on the list, but does money buy you happiness?
Oh yeah, we can finish with that.
And I think to an extent it definitely does. Like one of the guys I talked to, he was like very well spoken, and he was basically like, money can alleviate a lot of the like daily problems or stressors. Like
That's true.
he said like something along the lines of like money buys health. And
yeah, that's exactly what he said. It
Yeah.
contributes to your health, and that's a major contributor to your happiness.
yeah, and he said not too much money like in excess, but enough money to like preserve your health and well-being like on a day-to-day. Like 100% money can buy happiness in that sense. So
Yeah. Can you find happiness without money?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, it isn't either or, right? But they have those studies where it talks about, like, at least here in the United States, well, in the Pacific Northwest, there was this guy who's a business owner here in Seattle, and he looked into it, and basically at the time, I think it's higher now, but at the time when this was a decade ago, he said like $72,000 a year was like the point where people weren't better off if they had more, but they were definitely worse off if they had less. That was the amount that allowed you to pay your bills and get what
like
you
in the middle
needed.
to be safe and
Yeah, he
comfortable.
said
and
there
like,
was no people that had more didn't show more healthiness or more happiness or a better quality of life if they had more. In fact, in some cases, it was worse because they had
Right.
more
Well,
to
and
have to
that's-
manage.
that's
But
what I
he
was-
said that amount that allowed you to be able to pay your bills, to be able to take care of your health and your needs, and to be able to enjoy some of life was like kind of the magic number. And
Well,
I think that's
yeah.
accurate.
Yeah, and I was gonna say like that's where money can also 100% like bring more problems.
Yeah.
Like more stress, more
For sure.
anxiety, maybe depression. Like it
Yeah.
can 100% like have a negative impact on your well-being. Like if you have too much money and you're doing like think about it this way. Like imagine like somebody that wins the lottery, right? Like how many people are just gonna be looking to use them and like not
You've
being
seen
able to
that.
like
Have
really.
you watched that, The Lottery Curse?
No, I haven't seen
yeah.
that, but I know it's real.
There's a whole thing out there about the like lottery curse. People that win the lottery are actually, the majority of them are worse off after than they were before.
Yo, shout out that bro that won the $2
crazy.
billion, Cali. Like I think your name's Edwin or something. Yo, couple mil my way
wanna
wouldn't hurt.
invest?
You
You
feel
can
me?
invest.
Like tap in, my boy.
Also, did you see that somebody won the Mega Millions off of the Auburn Fred Meyer? Just
No.
down the road. They bought the winning ticket.
Fuck, that
Auburn.
should have been me, bro. Oh my gosh.
That was close to home. Yeah, that was a Mega Millions. Just not. It was like a couple weeks ago, maybe now.
Yo,
I saw it.
that'd be fire to win the Mega Millions or like win the lottery, but honestly, fuck that because
You better take notes on the lottery curse, though.
I want to make my millies legitimately. Like, I want to be able to look back and be like, yeah, I fucking did that. Not the lottery, so.
I don't care. I'll take it however it comes. I'm getting short on life. I don't got a lot of years
No,
left
because
to
I've been
care
telling
about
you
my
guys
ego.
since I was young I was going to be a millionaire. So
That's true.
if I won the lottery, then I can't really claim I'm a fucking millionaire because of what I did. Like, I'm just a millionaire, which I guess I can't. I'm a millionaire, but I want to make that money myself and then be able to like look back
So you
and
need
be
the
like,
ego with
fuck
it?
you, fuck you,
Yeah,
fuck you,
need
fuck
the
you.
ego with it.
Yeah.
See, I just want the dollars.
No, I need the ego with it. I need the
I'm
ego
all
with
done
it.
with the ego. At 46 years, I've had enough.
Yeah.
I'll just take the money.
Well,
That's a weird way to end this.
I'm gonna be a millionaire someday.
Me too.
We're gonna catch you guys next week. Don't do stupid shit. Make sure to
No.
like and subscribe and drop 5 stars on Apple, Spotify, all of that. Drop a comment on your opinions on these questions, whatever.
Like, tap in here,
Yeah,
guys. Like,
yeah.
join us in the conversation.
Yeah.
Come on.
Love y'all.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Deuce.